Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
First world, come in and take a seat. Pay us no attention, it's all conspiracy. We have satire and parody, some funny, some perverse. If none of it's offensive to you, you'd be the first.
Fairview's coffee has mysteriously gone missing. Mayhem ensues when strange, coffee-craving zombies plague the city. Detective Mickey Potatoes, an overworked public servant, uncovers why ordinary citizens are losing their minds and how to stop the coffee apocalypse. But it involves the mafia. And when you're dealing with mafia crime families, nothing is ever easy. The mafia controls everything in the city, including the police, including him. If he breaks the mafia, they will break him. So, the city is without coffee. The city is burning before his very eyes, but he's powerless. Detective Potatoes has the power to stop the coffee apocalypse, but if he does, he could lose everything.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
I knew
I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque.
And now for something completely different.
And welcome to another episode of Reality and Publishing Comics with me, Paul Gomez. How are y'all doing this week? I hope everybody's doing great. It's going to be a big, huge weekend coming up, especially, this weekend. I believe there's MegaCon going down in Florida, and then, of course, C2E2 up north in Chicago. Tons of friends are going to be at both places, so I'm hoping and wishing everybody good luck and safe travels. Hopefully you get there a-okay and on time and in one piece and definitely in the right mindset, because I know going out to these conventions is definitely a big deal. Now, this week I really didn't have a guest. I wanted to talk about my campaign that's going on starting this Saturday, as a matter of fact, which is going to be Prelude to Aurora. I know that might be a little selfish, but usually I don't want to talk about my stuff while I have a guest on, because I want to put the spotlight on them. So that was one of the main reasons I decided not to have somebody on this week. Now, also, and before we do get to that campaign and some of my work, I did see a question earlier this week on one of the social medias, and they were talking about how to hook people on that first page of a comic. And I thought that was a great question. And of course, I went in there and answered it the way I thought. But I wanted to kind of bring that up and kind of bring it to the attention of anyone who's watching, because that's definitely something that a lot of people kind of wonder and think about, and it kind of, I guess, blocks them or stops them from going further if they haven't got to that first page kind of thing. One of the main things is like getting started, and I tell people, there's hundreds and millions of reasons why you can't get started, but you have to kind of break those boundaries, because you can do it. It's a matter of getting in the right mindset and understanding that you can. Now, if I made a list of things that I couldn't do or didn't know how to do, or you know didn't feel comfortable doing, that list would be miles and miles and miles long. Way back when, I didn't exactly graduate from high school, and but I did go out of my way to make sure I had a diploma. I didn't exactly make it in college, and I even though I didn't really make it because of the reading, and I felt that was my main thing, I went out of my way to I go to a trade school and get a degree kind of thing. Whenever I was in high school and college, a lot of people kind of told me, hey, you have aspects of doing this or that. And I really kind of wanted to become a teacher. And, there was a certain point that I wanted to write and make the next great novel kind of thing. And it was really hard for me to do with my dyslexia. So I had a lot of people tell me, hey, leave that for people who were more adept at it, more proficient at it. And it's not something that was easy to overcome. And whenever me and my kids kind of got into that mindset of making stories and doing it for a household project, it probably took a little stress off, because I wasn't exactly trying to push it or do it myself. But even still, I wanted to make sure to give them the confidence that they knew they could do it, and we kind of rolled with it. So I never thought I could write a book, even a comic book. I didn't think that I could write more than a few pages, because of the way that I see things, and the words jumble around and headaches and sometimes. But with my kids, I wanted to make sure that they understood they could do it, as long as they learned different ways and did different things. And that's kind of helped break down those boundaries. You get writer's block all the time. I definitely do, and I know a lot of other people do. And I tell people, it's not one certain way to get over it. I'm not you, so I can't exactly tell you how you feel or how you overcome things. You can get 10 different people in a room, and they can have a way to meet a problem and get over a problem that differs from each other. So, having said that, go out there and look, find ways. It's not one specific way to get to that solution. For me, it was taking it step by step, and I did a lot of studies. I had a lot of YouTube going on in the background, and I did a lot of writing, trial and error things, and I can't tell you how many times I rewrote that first page of the first comic that I wrote. I mean, because it was probably a good 20 to 30, 40 times, if not more. And the fact that I wrote it that first time doesn't mean that I didn't go back a week or two later to overlook it and make small changes here and there. One of the things people kind of get into the mindset, and I know I did, was, once I write it, it's going to be done, which is furthest from the truth, especially whenever it comes to comic book writing. There's always tweaks and edits and movements that you might make, especially working with artists, if you're not the artist, and working with editors and all this other kind of stuff. It might not make sense. And so, whenever you ask, how do you build that first page that hooks people? Well, you got to ask, how's it going to hook you? I know whenever I started, I had a lot of people tell me that you put one splash page, which is kind of the norm, an established page at the beginning, one one huge picture, and then kind of the words that uh, pull the reader in. But that's not always the case, and that's not always how you have to do it. It really is depending on how you feel comfortable with it. And if you're an independent creator, it's your own book, so you can do it any way you want. I think most of the time people talk about an establishing page, that first page, being a splash page, because it's a tried and true method that works and has worked for so many people. It doesn't mean you have to stick with that. I know I didn't with Bushibu Circus. I think I broke that into like 3 or 4 panels on that first page. But what I really did on that was really, I wanted to, get into her mindset. And like I said, there's 3 panels right there, and it's really that big, beautiful establishing one. Hey, she's walking in a field, and she's thinking to herself what's going on. So again, that first page doesn't have to be a splash page, but again, that's really the tried and true method that most people put. And so you don't have to avoid it just because everybody else does it. If it works for the majority, why not do it that way? If you have an idea that works differently, like I said, mine in Bushibu, it was 3 panels, but I felt like it helped establish where you were or pulled you into that world by showing the 3 different pictures, but she was still in the field walking. So that each picture kind of showed a different step in where she was, but it really was the same kind of thing that was there. And that's the reason I did that with that book. And it really was, to me, the words that pulled you in on Bushibu Circus Mysteries. And on the other 2 books that I had done with those first pages, it really was a full splash page to pull you into that different environment. And that's probably one of the biggest things to do and learn and understand about those first pages. But even still, whenever you're hooking a person or trying to sell your comic, it's not really that first page that's going to sell it. It's a cover page and how you present the book to people. I was talking to another creator, and they said, you never know how your book's going to sell whenever you get to previews. If you get to previews, you're selling to some comic book stores with an ad, and usually it just has the cover page and like a small description of what your book is, kind of that elevator pitch. And that's the way it is at cons as well. You're trying to give them that elevator pitch, which is really that first hook on getting a customer to look at your direction. So it's the cover page and your elevator hook are really the first presentations of what you have going on that that lead anyone new to your book as opposed to that first page. Now, granted, me at a convention or at a signing or anything like that, I have a demo book out, and usually if I have any interest, I try to flip open that book to show them what's inside as well because the art inside is going to be different than the cover, and you definitely want to show them and explain to them why you went with the artist that you did and what they're going to be jumping into the book. And it makes them feel comfortable whenever they you turn that page and start describing. Um, one of the things I learned early on is understanding the art that's in it. Even though you're not the artist, there's definitely different styles of art. Whenever I went to PTSD, it was a little bit darker and grittier, and it was heavier on the inks. Uh, the pencils were amazing, but that's definitely due to the artist. But it really was that those heavier inks that kind of led me to the artist on PTSD, and you can kind of see how gritty and of the art style is. And so whenever somebody comes up to me a con and they see PTSD and they say, "Hey, I like that book. Can you tell me about it?" The first thing I try to do is flip open that page and show them that first page and how dark and gritty it is, and then start flipping to some of the key pages that definitely look a little bit prettier and nicer, and explain to them w- what the art style is in the book and the reasoning behind it, and of course the story. But you really don't spend that much time on that first page, even though it is that introduction. So make sure that that's not the reason that you're not writing. Always try to get over those hurdles a- as fast as you can, but with definitely an eye for detail. So I thought that was a great question that I had read earlier this week, and I really wanted to address it. That first page shouldn't really be something that stops you. Remember, whenever you're selling your book, it's going to be the cover that sells it. Your elevator pitch, your tagline, if you will, that's probably going to be the biggest sellers of your book before anybody even gets into it. So don't let don't let that first page stop you. Yeah, I read in that comments of that one question, someone had said, if you go look at Disney stuff, they say once upon a time, and just about all their beginning of their stories, which it doesn't really vary from one to the other, so it just jumps them into that story. Star Wars, in a galaxy far, far away. It's a great tagline, and it pulls you in because what you're expecting from them. If you can make a tagline, and if you're doing a story that's a continuous kind of thing, like I do Bushibu and I'm doing 12 issues, if I could do a tagline at the beginning of those stories, it would help pull the reader in and make them understand, hey, I'm coming back to this story. This is kind of the feel that I had last time I read it, so I understand. So that first page, that first line doesn't have to be as epic as it was the best of times, it was the worst of times kind of thing. I mean, it's always great to have that one tagline that gives you a little bit of a pool in there, but don't let that stop your story. You can always go back and change it too. Like I said, you're always editing and you're always changing things. And if you're not, think about why you're not. Because eh, to me, I had to reread my scripts 100, 200 times to make sure that I was comfortable with them. I wanted to put the best effort I could into anything that I was selling, and that's even before I hand it off to my editors or like any beta readers or anything like that. So it's like I don't think I ever stuck with one thing from the beginning till it got printed, except for maybe once. And you don't have to. Again, you're your own producer, and you're the one that's in charge of it. And as long as you're doing it to the best of your ability, be proud of whatever you put on there, but don't let it stop you from writing your entire story. I mean, it's okay to get writer's block. Everybody does, but find a way, find a way that works for you. I've got about 10 different ways that I try to get out of it. Sometimes I'll stop and start writing on a different script. Sometimes I'll stop and take a 15 20-minute break and hang out with my kids. Sometimes I'll take a break, just relax. But sometimes, and there's sometimes that a script needs to be done, and I'll like, not literally, but tie myself to a chair and just kind of throw different scenarios. But I guess the main thing is find a way to tackle it. Don't let it keep you from doing anything. The words that I can't do it are the biggest obstacle, and if you can find a way around that, not just in writing but in life, if you can find a way around it, you're going to be better off. It's not an I can't thing. It's I will figure out how to. I mean, right now I have like a list, a laundry list of things that I'm doing. Start building a Kickstarter. I just finished building a few flyers, some cards that I made into stickers, and 100 things that I have on a schedule that I need to get done in the next few days, next week, next month, and about half those things I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't, but I'm not gonna let it stop me. I'm gonna try to find a way to figure it out, to fix it, to go forward. And having said that, you know, this Saturday, April 1st, like I said, this weekend's gonna be a big weekend for just about everybody. I've got a live launch that's happening on location in Burleson, Texas, and Geek Out, which is a comics and collectibles store. We're going to be right there in the store with the crowd that's customers and crowd that's going to be there. We're going to be giving away prizes not only in the store, but on the stream as well, which we'll be streaming from live here on the Madness Network. And, I went to go visit the store yesterday just to see the layout. We're going to put a few tables in or for me and the guest host, which is Laurie Calcaterra, and we're going to have our books out there and kind of show them off later on after the live launch. But I had to figure out where we're going to be sitting and how we're going to be shooting it, and how we're going to have more than just one person talking at the same time. I had to figure all this out, and that was kind of a big deal. I didn't know. I still don't know if it's going to come off without a hitch, but I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try to figure out those obstacles along the way and project manage it all. So that's definitely one of those things that I say, even if you don't know what you're doing, try your best. Ask somebody. I'm definitely going to have help. I'm going to have Lori there that's going to help me. I'm going to have my kids there, my twins helping me as well. We're gonna have guests. We're gonna do giveaways, and it's gonna be a great fun time this weekend. And that's gonna be the launch for our Prelude to Aurora, which is my 5th book that's gonna be coming out. Now, before and again, I know I keep touching on it, but before I get really into Prelude, I definitely want to talk about PTSD. This was my first book that did come out. This was my my 3rd script that I wrote, but it happened to be the first one that got produced without any hitches and actually came to be in my hands first. It was a passion project, and I always talk about this book as a little bit more than most because it does touch on mental illness and mental awareness, and I wanted to bring that to the light a little bit more. Whenever everything was happening these past couple of years, a lot of people kind of went into their own shells, including a lot of my kids and my family. And that was really the basis of where this book kind of stemmed from. it was that they didn't really want to talk about this stuff, and I felt, if I wrote a book and it would kind of pull people out of their own problems and predicaments, and it would show them that other people are going through some of the same stuff as well. Maybe it would get that conversation going. And I never thought that it would pick up or sell as well as it did. I really didn't think that it was going to be uh, anything more than a side note, if you will. I thought Bushibu Circus Mysteries was going to be my flagship comic, and I still do claim that it is my flagship comic. But it was going to be a one shot, a 22-page issue PTSD. It was like I said, a passion project of mine. I did want to talk about that mental illness stuff, but also I was a little on my own wanting to do a project that was self-contained into 22 pages. I've heard that was always a challenge, and whenever it comes to writing, I always want to try to challenge myself. That's one of the reasons that I wrote so many different titles. So whenever it came to PTSD, I was like, I want to do a 22-page book, and I want to make sure that I can tell a complete story from start to end. And if you're writing, if you're starting out, or even if you're a current creator that's on one title that's a long one, I encourage you to at least try this. Try to write a self-contained story, even if you don't produce it. But I would give the advice of, even if you got this 12 page or 12 issue or uh huge kind of long story that you're telling, why not do a one shot? You have something extra on your table, you have something extra to sell, and it's not going to take that much time. Now I kind of feel I might have started juggling a little bit too much. After PTSD, I went into Bushibu Circus Mysteries, which was my 12 issue series, and it's currently on issue 2. I'm hoping after Prelude and Dracula's Descents that we get back to Bushibu issue 3, and that's kind of what my goal is for this year. Bushibu Circus Mysteries, if you haven't heard me talk about this is the project that really started it all for me. This is the one that me and my kids started putting together while we were stuck in the house, and we were throwing around ideas, and this is the one that my kids love the most. They really helped me put the characters together, and every time I would write a page, I would read it off to them to make sure that they liked it and that it was okay with them. And would always have their eyes brighten up, and they would make suggestions of editing and kind of this and that, and it kind of took off from there. And like I said, we're on issue 2 right now. Issue 3 hopefully will come out hopefully in September or October. But again, it really depends on the success of Prelude to Aurora and what's going on with Dracula's Descent. And before I go on to Prelude, I do want to talk about Cryptic Haze. Cryptic Haze was my third IP. It was my 4th book. Yeah. And it was a project that was close to me because I was, in the middle of helping a friend out who was dealing with a divorce, and I was going through a divorce, and I wanted to write a story that could take us away from everything that was going on. So now it's got elements of like that, husband and wife kind of pulled away from each other, but it was like, what would you do if you had the power of mind control and you got hurt by this one person that you love the most? What would you do at that point? Would you use that power to hurt that person? And what would be the causes and effects of your actions of it all? I love Batman's The Killing Joke, and that's really where Cryptic Haze really had its basis. It was that one day to try to push you over the edge. Is like, how would a normal person react with all this devastation going on, then all of a sudden getting power or control over something that you really didn't have power or control over. So I wanted to do that. And, my favorite kind of story was psychological thrillers, something that made you really constantly think. And that's really where Cryptic Haze kind of stemmed from. And again, I was trying to push myself as a writer, having done a single shot and a single issue, and then doing a 12-issue series. Cryptic Haze is a 3-issue series, and that's the first issue of that. And, again, after Bushibu, issue 3, I'm hoping to get back to Cryptic Haze issue 2. And I know that I'm probably juggling a lot, but again, jumping into the comic career, I looked at things and was like, this is the way I kind of want to do it. Show a library of stuff, a little bit diversified, if you will. And I've been told that all my stories are horror-wise, and I didn't really think of that because I felt PTSD was a realistic kind of introspect, and Bushibu was kind of mystery solving. I call it Scooby-Doo meets Criminal Minds.
You want to follow me?
And and then now we're on Prelude. Prelude to Aurora was wow, it was definitely a unique experience writing it. I wrote it because of the relationship between me and my artist of PTSD and Cryptic Haze. We had been spending time talking about these books and these pages, and I started asking my artist, Santa Spina. He was an amazing artist, and if you've seen either one of these books, you can see his paneling and storytelling, and it's beautiful. So I started asking him what kind of stories he liked, and what would he draw if he was drawing his favorite kind of story. And that's kind of where he started telling me it'd be more supernatural, more demon wise, and it just led from one thing to another. I was like, how can I marry my realistic storytelling into a supernatural kind of thing? So the story of A Prelude to Aurora is made for my artist, but with those hints of supernatural, where you have gargoyles versus demons. And I thought that was very unique because I hear people with their love and how much they enjoy the cartoon gargoyles, and I'm like, you don't see that in many comics nowadays. Now, it just so happened that after I wrote the script, I heard that gargoyles was coming back to comic form. I kind of thought it was ironic, and I don't know how it happened that way, and I'm grateful that it did, because I feel like it kind of leads into the same thing, but in a different way. And like I was saying, you hear so many people that perk up whenever you talk about gargoyles, but you don't really see it that much in the media, and you kind of wonder why. I'm not saying that there's none out there. There's definitely a few, but it's not that prominent. And they're usually a background character or something that's just not as to the forefront. So I wanted to do a comic that had that that fight between those gargoyles and demons, and I felt it could be a unique introspective if we jumped into that. But like I was saying, most of my comics were I guess a little bit realistic, a little more human. So I wanted to tie that into it, and that's really where the story kind of hit that jumping board kind of thing. So I decided to write about a woman who didn't know exactly what was going on, and she was trying to save the world, but she didn't know how to do it except to take her life. And she's trying to I guess, take her life when she's being guarded by a mysterious force. And throughout the first of the comic, she's trying to figure out who's saving her because she can't see it or don't know it or don't understand, and she's still trying to figure out this mystery of why she's trying to be self-destructive. And that's where the comic really starts off. I tell people Prelude to Aurora is kind of like the story before the story, and I wanted to do something that was kind of self-contained, but something that was gonna build up to something amazing. And I the way I approached it was kind of like Star Wars. And I know a lot of people kind of try to emulate that, but really, whenever it came to A New Hope, it was that build up to something bigger, and then something bigger upon that. And that's where I had the basis for Prelude to Aurora. And I want it to be 3 issues long. And I'm not saying that it's not going to go further than that, but this first issue is really that self-contained beginning, that prologue, but it's going to give you a complete story of, hey, what's happening? How is this coming to be? And why are there gargoyles and demons and what's going on? Another thing I wanted to do, and again, this is, talking to my artist, he loved action. I felt like in some of my earlier books, it might have had a little bit of action, but really wasn't uh, as heavy or leaned on action as much. So I wanted to test my boundaries on that and kind of show a few different action scenes. And I felt, you know, a battle between, uh, 10, 15 gargoyles and 100 demons, and, a guy with a shotgun and a girl with a, sword, and all this stuff going on would make an amazing epic, just few pages of a comic. And that was really where I was challenging myself. So Prelude to Aurora really is definitely an exercise of something that gets me out of my comfort zone, but it turned out to be my best script that I ever wrote. And I tell people, especially the people that I've had read it, I tell them, I never would have wrote this if I hadn't decided to try to do something for my artist. And I'm glad. I mean, I'm definitely glad that I found San Espina to help me tell my stories, but also, that camaraderie that you get with your artist and talking and spending time with them is really the reason that it kind of pulled me out of my shell from those stories that I had. I didn't exactly expect to jump into another IP, but whenever I started giving this script to people to read and ask them, you know, give me your honest truth about this. I gave it to about 10 people, and after I did that, I actually had 2 offers to buy it, and I was just shocked and devastated that anyone would want to buy my scripts. And I you know, and I really entertained the thought of selling it to them, but I told them I wrote this for my artist. He has to be attached to it, if nothing else. And that was really kind of the sticking point of not having sold it. But at that point, I was like, if there was this much interest in it, I definitely felt it had to be made. I actually sat down and uh, asked the counsel of someone who's been in the industry for 30 something years, and it really came to push me to that point where I was like, I have to definitely make this. I don't know where it's going to go or how it's going to be, and I know it's my fourth IP, and I know I need to get back to Bushibu Circus Mysteries, but I felt like the story was the way it came to me, and the timing of it all. I felt like it was just kind of a godsend, and I needed to be doing it. It was like that nagging kind of something. So I definitely hope, after we get it launched this Saturday, April 1st, live from Geek Out and here on the Madness Network, that I hope everybody loves it, half as much as I loved writing it. I I I've got the final pages, the final pencils in just about 2 or 3 days ago, and let me tell you, my artist has gone above and beyond his earlier work. It's just phenomenal. I mean, very amazing. If you hadn't seen any of the pages that I posted, uh, definitely check out that Kickstarter. And it's going to have at least 6 preview pages. I'm going to try to get them lettered by then and put up on there. And uh, it, it it's definitely a ride. Uh, it's definitely a ride that I hope a lot of people get on. Um, whenever I had this thought of this book, I've got 3 covers, and I really wanted to do more, but I didn't want to take away from the covers that I have. I've got Santa Spina doing my A cover, the main cover, and my best friend Jeff Muth wanted to do a cover because he fell in love with the story, and he's done a beautiful rendition of a gargoyle, which was colored by Dave Kemp and amazingly stunning, if you ask me. And then my third cover is actually a 5 gate full cover by a newer cover artist, which is Zach Spivey. He's just kind of jumping into doing those covers, and I wanted to do something that was a little bit bigger in scale and a little bit more unique that you don't see every day. So I hope you jump on the Kickstarter. He hasn't got that cover finished just yet, but he's getting those pencils laid out, and it looks, I mean, beautiful, amazingly beautiful. I had seen his art about a year ago, and I knew I had to get him on a project. That was whenever I started writing the script, and I felt like his art was just calling for this script, or this script was calling for his art to be on it. So I knew about a year ago I wanted him. I started talking to him about the idea of doing this 5 gate full cover and telling him what I was really looking for, and it was just an image that was in my head, and I just can't wait to see the finished product, and I can't wait to show people because, like I said, this script was something that was totally different, something unique, and I've gotten so much great feedback from the people who have read the script, um, and I don't really know. I'm not big on promoting myself that much, but I'm lucky. I'm definitely lucky to have found a comic book store that really wanted to promote this book, and being able to launch it live from Geek Out, Burleson, Texas is something that I haven't really heard many people do, and they were excited for all this to come about. And like I said, we're gonna make a big event out of it. We're gonna do giveaways in the store, and we're gonna do giveaways on the stream. I'm gonna have Laurie Calcaterra be the special host, and she's gonna be there. If you don't know her, she's the writer and creator of Path of the Pale Rider. She's a great friend and an amazing person. I think she's gonna do great hosting it. Of course, we're gonna have other guests there. Hopefully, we're gonna get members of the team to come on stream. I might even have one come to the store and be there live as well. So it's gonna be a unique experience. Uh, I hope everybody joins. It's going to be this Saturday, April 1st, 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. Now, we're going to have more than one prize to give away, but I don't exactly want to let everybody know what the prizes are until the day of the show. You do have to be watching. It is going to take at least a little bit of participation to win the prizes. Not much. Maybe picking a number or two, maybe something a little fun. But like I said, we're going to make a big deal out of it. It's going to be a great time. Uh, again, we're hoping for about 4 or 5 guests. Um, we're going to talk to one of the managers there, Charles Boyer. He's going to be there. We're going to talk to him about his store, and we're going to have Pops there, and we're going to talk to him about the network. And like I said, we're going to have Laurie there, and she's going to talk about Path of the Pale Rider. But I mean, the main thing is to have fun and launch this book. I just can't wait to bring it to everybody. I it's like I said, something unique, something different, and the feedback that I've gotten already from just the people who have read it has been uh, drastically amazing. It's been uh, I just couldn't believe how well it got received by the people who have read it, and I'm thankful for that because I always think if I sell 1 or 2 books, I'll be happy. so so having about 10 people read it and all of them say, "Hey, this is something you have, something big here." I'm like surprised and shocked, and I looking for, like I said, looking forward to seeing what the customers and people are going to think about this. The art's coming in; it is just shockingly beautiful. Whether we're talking about the pages, whether we're talking about the covers, it's something that I'm definitely proud of, and it's not even finished yet. I know the lettering by McLean McGuire is going to be off off the charts. He always does a great job. Uh, I don't know what else to talk about this book. It's yeah. Before I forget to mention, the unsung heroes to me always are the editors and my letter, which I've said McLean McGuire is my letter. My editor is Chuck Panay, and then Elisa Delgado are my editors, and they've done a great job helping me put this together. I don't think I it could have been as tight and nicely placed and done so correctly if it wasn't for them. So I can't thank them enough. And of course, my artists, uh, Santa Spina, Jeff Mute, and Zach Spivey. They such talented people. I could just hope to have a percentage of their talent one day. uh, but I I don't really know what else I could say about this book. It's gargoyle versus demons. It's a family that's in the middle. It starts with a woman who doesn't know what's happening or what she's doing. She's self-destructive, but she's trying to figure out why. If she's trying to like uh, save a friend, she's trying to figure out if she's trying to save a family member. She's trying to figure out if she's trying to save the world. And this book kind of asks and answers all those questions with those characteristics of the gargoyles and demons in it. And it's a real fun ride. Like I said, it's more action packed than any of my books because I wanted to play with that, and I felt like it really came off in a unique way. With the art in mind, I wanted to do something that was different and that you didn't see just about every day. And with Santa Spina's art, I felt like I had that ability. So I mean, this like all the pages have came in, and it's just amazing. I hope you get to see them. I hope you get to see them soon. Like I said, I'll definitely have a few of them on there. We have a few commercials that are being built and coming out as well. But definitely go to the Kickstarter, sign up for the page, Prelude to an Aurora to get notified. Or, like I said, April 1st is the live launch. Uh, uh, yeah, it's going to be from Geek Out in Burleson, Texas. This is Comics and Collectible. It's a huge store. It's one of the biggest in the DFW Metroplex. So please check them out. If you're in the area, give them a call. Come by and see us. We're going to have free gifts that we're going to give away there as well. I'm working on a unique scroll that I might be handing out there and the day of if it comes back from the printer on time. But it's going to be a scroll of one of the images from the books, and I thought that would be a unique gift to give to the people who are there. We're definitely going to give, like I said, a few gifts to the audience who are streaming as well, and make sure you go check out Geek Out. Check out their Facebook. If you're in the Burleson DFW area, check out the store. It's definitely worth the drive because, like I said, in DFW, I've been into just about every comic book store, and there's is, if not the biggest, probably the top 3, and it's just a sight to behold if you go in there. So, make sure you check out Geek Out. The Madness Streaming Network is where we're going to be Saturday. That's really all I got about my book. And one thing I do want to talk about is Laurie Calcaterra's got her book, Path of the Pale Rider, that's on Kickstarter right now. Please go show her some love. And if not anything else, check out her Kickstarter. She's got some amazing cover art by William Russell and by David Sanchez coming soon. So make sure to go check her Kickstarter out. I think about a week into the progress. So she's got about 2 or 3 weeks left. She's doing great. She's definitely rocking it, but she could use as much love as you can get. So make sure to check her Kickstarter out. Also, I really like to mention like 100 Kickstarters that are going on, but my brain eludes me. One of my good friends, obviously, if you're a fan of this network, is Doc Blalock, and his Indiegogo's going on, Pariah Blood and Mud. Check it out. It's going to be a great comic to jump into. It's going to be a fun event that you're going to love if you like the revenge kind of stories. Go look at it on Indiegogo. There's tons of great Kickstarters going on. I know Earth's Best Kickstarter is going to be coming in the middle of April. I really, like I said, my memory is probably one of the worst things. I usually take notes, but I don't have them on all the Kickstarters. If you're at a local bookstore and check getting new comics, Travis Gibbs has his Granite Stake Punk that's going to be on the shelves this week, I believe. Make sure to show him love. I don't know what else to talk about, but like I said, Prelude to Aurora, April 1st, 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. Check it out. I hope you all love it. I hope y'all love all of these books. Check us out on the network. I'll be here every week if you need any help. My name is Paul Gomez, Paul Gomez 790, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm always here to help. If you have a question about my books, if you have a question about creating comics, let me know. I'm here. Thank you so much.
As long as I'm alive, I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man walking. Till I die.
Revenge, the sweetest morsel to the mouth that ever was cooked in hell.
Hey friends, Morgan Quaid here to tell you about a little project called The Crimson Folly, a D&D inspired comic anthology which takes place in a fantasy tavern called, you guessed it, The Crimson Folly. I'm working with more than a dozen artists from all over the world to bring this story to life through sequential comic artwork, intricate portrait pieces, sketches, and of course, words! My aim is to produce a combined comic story and art book. The first 40 pages will be a comic book telling the main story of the Folly and using different artists to build out each section of the story. The art book will then contain sketches and short stories relating to characters from that story. So if you're a fan of D&D, fantasy artwork, comics, or just great storytelling, you'll love The Crimson Folly. Yes, you will.
How do you end this thing? How do you put the where's the brakes on this bus? I forgot.
Jazz hands. Jazz hands are done.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals.